Brosephus, what's up?
First of all, fuck that guy. All right, so hopefully you'll like this a little bit better. What do you think of the new Star Wars movies?
I don't know. I don't like him very much.
You think Rey's a Mary Sue, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it seems like it.
Did you like the old Star Wars movies?
I thought they were okay. I guess I was never like a huge fan of them.
Do you think that the criteria that gets Rey judged to be a Mary Sue can be applied to Anakin and Luke?
Definitely not. Not to Luke, maybe to Anakin, but no, I would argue that Luke struggles enough in the show to not really be considered a, I think Gary Stu is what they call him.
Yeah. What would you say that Luke struggles with?
Doesn't the whole episode start off with like Obi-Wan having to bail him out because he's in like some predicament with like some fucking sand people or some shit that he can't get himself out of, and then he spends time training quite a bit with his little thing, and he kind of sucks at that initially. He goes through the whole training segment with Yoda where he can't lift the X-wing out of the water. He has like a problem with he loses his first duel with Darth Vader and loses his hand. Like, I mean, I would
argue that those things are true, but I can point to similar things that Rey fucked up, and I can also point to crazy shit that Luke did, seemingly with no training, like flying an X-wing and guiding a missile with the Force into like a 1x1 hole in the Death Star. Seems like you shouldn't really have been able to do that if we're applying the same criteria to both of them.
Well, so, fuck me. So the idea behind him being a pilot was that was like given as like part of his backstory, right?
Sure. Which Rey also had as part of her backstory.
Rey's backstory is bullshit, though. I think there's a difference between saying like, oh, like as part of my backstory, I can do like one or two things, versus saying like, oh, as part of my backstory, I can do everything, right? I think there's a difference between that, right? Like all Luke had from his backstory was that he was like a decent pilot. I think that was it, right? I don't think he intrinsically had any other abilities, did he? He was just like a decent pilot.
I mean, I guess he could like fix droids, but he definitely didn't have any Force abilities. I'll give you that, or like any fighting.
Sure,
abilities.
maybe he could fix droids. I don't know if that plays a major role, or maybe his relationship with R2-D2. I don't know if he does that.
So like, why do you say that Rey's backstory is bullshit?
Because she can like fight with blasters, she can fight with lightsabers, she can like, it seems like she can do almost anything.
Doesn't she not even know how to turn the blaster on when Han gives it to her in The Force Awakens or something like that?
Yeah, but then doesn't she become like pretty proficient with it like almost immediately after? Like, and also like she said that it's like her literal first time flying, and she does like maneuvers with like the Millennium Falcon that we've literally never seen before. As soon as she picks up a lightsaber, she's like a dueling master. Like,
well, I mean, they allude to this in the movie. I mean, obviously she like has, a love of like, spaceships and stuff like that. Like she lives in she doesn't live in a spaceship. She lives in like a down AT-AT.
Yeah, but again, you're giving me like a backstory that justifies her doing everything, like being an expert duelist, being expert at hand-to-hand combat, being an expert pilot that she's never.
Well, I'm saying this is why she would be an expert at being a pilot. I don't think anybody really thinks she's an expert duelist. And even if she fights against like Kylo Ren, I mean, I'll give you that she's probably better than Luke at the beginning of the Force Awakens than at the beginning of A New Hope. But like she lives like alone. She like Luke lived with his aunt and uncle. He kind of lived like in the periphery. He didn't really have to go like into the dicey parts, right? Like she every day is like having to go into like the dicey parts of like Jakku or whatever. So I'll give her like she's better.
But like you're giving me like
I don't think I call her an expert though.
Sure, but I mean she is an expert, right? She's an expert mechanic. She repairs the Millennium Falcon in a way that like even Chewie and Han couldn't think of. She's an expert pilot. She pulls off maneuvers that we've like never seen before. She's an expert Force user with absolutely no background or explanation whatsoever. She never has any real struggles in terms of dueling or fighting anybody almost ever. Like she seems to be very proficient using lightsabers. Like the first time she holds one, she beats Kylo Ren or whatever in a fight. Like,
I would say one that Kylo Ren was already wounded in that fight, so I don't think it's really fair to say because Finn had already he was already like overconfident and Finn had like hit him in the shoulder or whatever.
Do you think that I would be able to defeat Goku in a fight if Goku was heavily wounded, or do you think he would literally crush me like between his fingers? And
I think that if you were like the embodiment of like whatever Dragon Ball Force there is, I don't watch Dragon Ball, but like if it was revealed that like you were the embodiment to defeat Goku, even with no training, if Goku was injured, I think you'd probably have a shot.
Yeah, but now you're giving me arguments for why she's a Mary Sue, because she's the embodiment of whatever, so that makes her a Mary Sue. Right?
I mean, but this is my point. Isn't like Luke supposed to be everybody in every main protagonist of Star Wars is supposed to have this like great sort of prophecy thrust upon them.
What failures does Rey have that are even close to comparable to, say, Luke not being able to lift the X-Wing out of the water, or Luke getting his hand cut off by Darth Vader? What failures does Rey have?
I would turn to The Last Jedi, and I would point to the moments where she completely fails in her training with Luke.
Yeah, but she comes out on top of all of that. Luke was the one that was wrong. She didn't even fail, because later on, when the whole place gets burned down, Yoda's like, "Oh, you know, dumb you are, smart she is." Like, oh well, she was right all along. Even in that, she comes out on top of that.
I mean,
and she doesn't even fail the training. She just quits. She walks out. She has agency the entire time.
I mean, I would argue that to be a Jedi, quitting the training is failing. But on top of that, you could argue that Luke comes out at the end of it too, right?
Yeah, because Luke learns from her. She's the one.
No. I mean, in Empire, Luke comes out of it all, right?
Well, yeah, but that's through a process of losing and then going to another area, gathering power, and then coming back and then conquering what you couldn't conquer before. That's the arc that we would expect a hero character to go through. That's what I'm saying is absent from Rey's story, that she's always had that power, and that's why she's a Mary Sue.
But the thing is, I think that when you make these arguments, you look away from times that Luke clearly has things that he should I said, that's being able to guide the missile while flying an X-wing.
That's literally the entire
all the TIE fighters, getting past Darth Vader's ship, whatever the fuck it's called.
Okay, so hold on. Whoa. Firstly, the one thing we've given Luke is that he's one of the best pilots in the Alliance. That's the one thing in the backstory we've given him. Now, you can argue that that's an unearned trait,
okay.
And I'll agree with that. Sure, that's unearned. That's a backstory thing, okay? So he is a good pilot. 2, he wasn't able to get past Darth Vader, actually. Unlike Rey, he actually needed help. The Millennium Falcon bailed the fuck out of him. If they hadn't, he would have lost 100%. He would have been killed. That's something that Rey never has to go through either, where other people have to bail her out. So 2. 3, that guiding the missile, that was literally the entire evolution of Luke's character, was learning to trust in the Force, learning to believe the Force. Obi-Wan arguably died to show him how much faith you need to have in the Force in order to do it. That's why you hear Obi-Wan's voice in his head when he's flying through the fucking thing. And he's already gone through his whole training arc of learning to use the Force, lifting the X-Wing out, etc. After all of these losses, that's where he's wound up. I think that's an okay thing for him to be able to do at the end. Much the same as Neo stopping the bullets at the end when the agents are shooting at him. Well, that's because that's the evolution of his entire character, and he's lost enough to earn that victory at the end.
Okay, so do you not give Rey the same mileage out of her opening up that chest and touching the lightsaber and having the Force vision and then being taken by Kylo and then all these other things happening to her?
The problem is that Rey never loses or struggles ever. That's the problem with her character. So personally, I don't feel any of the victories because she always comes out on top of everything. Even when they go to save her in the first movie, they run into her. She's already broken out on her own. She is never saved at any point in any of the movies ever. She's always on top of every situation.
I mean, I will argue that she hadn't if they had not found her, she would have died though, right?
I don't know, actually. I don't think so. She probably would have somehow hopped in a ship and magically flown away and been fine. That's what it seemed like. She's gotten rid of everything else on her own before with no help from anybody else.
I mean, but the entire reason she was in that scenario is because she tried to run off and do things by herself, and then she got captured.
Yeah, but nothing bad is felt as a consequence of that. She gets captured,
but Han Solo dies because of that, right? Ultimately.
Yeah, but I don't even know if that's necessarily her fault. I guess maybe in a roundabout way it kind of is, maybe? I don't know. How long did she even know Han Solo for? Didn't she just run into him? I don't know. Yeah, and that's more Han's decision to sacrifice himself rather than him dying to save Rey. Yeah, actually, no, I'm sorry. I totally disagree because they were already out. Han was the one that made the decision to walk down there. That's why they watched him die from afar. Maybe I could agree with this take more if they were trying to escape and Han literally has to throw himself between some guards and them and he ends up sacrificing himself to save her then, right?
I mean, but you could argue that the entire reason Han was there was to get her, and Han was always inevitably going to make the choice to try to turn Kylo back to the light side, right? So it's still her fault because she inevitably made things happen that Han was going to do that would get himself killed. And without her being there, Han wouldn't have been there. Han wouldn't have just showed up there to try to save Kylo Ren. right?
I mean, I can try to. I'll give you this one if you want, but it's so weak. Like, this is so weak. We're still not even close to the level of like Luke's failures, of like Luke not being able to use the Force almost at all, of Luke being shown constantly training and kind of sucking shit at it with a little droid, of Luke needing Obi-Wan to bail him out of multiple scenarios or save him from places, of Luke losing his fucking hand against his father with the duel, and then losing a friend, Han Solo, directly as a result of that. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess you can kind of, you can argue that in the Last Jedi, when Rey, tries, she's had this connection with Kylo and she realizes that Kylo is going to, remain on the dark side of the Force, right? And she's given up all of this stuff to try to like go and save Kylo. And she truly believes that she is the person that can like bring him back. And he doesn't do that. I would say that's like a pretty big failure as well. And like stuff that she has to go through. And I don't think you can even deny that she has an emotional connection with him at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like she fails to achieve something like that, but she still doesn't like suffer any like measurable harm or loss. I mean, she tries to do something, and I guess like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of a failure. But man, we're already in the second movie, and she's already like established herself as like god tier superhero by this point. Like,
I mean, I think like if you want to see her as the god tier super, like I don't really see like the only fight that she really quote unquote wins is the one with Kylo when he was already injured, and she doesn't even really win that fight, right?
Can you think of like a single instance of her struggling in like the whole first movie where she's supposed to be like at her weakest?
Yeah, when she runs off into the forest alone on that like planet with the castle or whatever, and she gets taken by Kylo and just completely destroyed by him.
Yeah, but like, does it matter if she doesn't like lose anything from that, and then it's revealed afterwards that with no training she's like one of the strongest Force people like in the whole like universe?
I mean,
like it just doesn't feel like a big loss to me. I guess it just kind of seems like a meme.
I mean, I don't know. I guess like if you don't want to see it as a big loss, I can see how like you might not think it's like as big of a loss, but like to me that directly leads to like the death of Han Solo.
Well, so. But I don't think I agree with it. Like the more I think about this, the more wrong this was. Like Han wasn't even there initially to save her. Like Han was there to like destroy the Death Star or the Star Destroyer or whatever that had already blown up like 7 fucking planets. Like, yeah, and Leia wanted Han to try to save their son anyway. Like, and she was already out. I don't think sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. Like I'm not saying that she knew Han would come save her. I'm just saying that she did things that inevitably led to his death, and she definitely feels that. Right?
But I think Han was gonna die anyway. I'm pretty sure that was like unavoidable.
I don't like. Wait, I'm trying to remember because I honestly don't even really remember the movie that well. But isn't there something of the entire reason that they run into Han or into Kylo Ren is because they have to place. They learn about where to place the charges from her.
Well, but that's not her fault. That's to destroy the Death Star thing.
Well, but you're saying that Han and Stormtrooper Finn came to the base or whatever just to set the charges. But if they hadn't run into Rey,
they wouldn't know where to set the charge.
And if Finn hadn't, come there specifically to save Rey because she hadn't gotten herself captured like a fucking idiot, then Han Solo, I don't know. I don't think he would have died. Can you at least agree that they were hardcore setting Han Solo up as a like sort of father figure, mentor figure to her in that movie? Because I think you kind of disagreed with that earlier.
Wait, how long did these people even interact with each other?
See, yeah, that's what you said earlier. But you have to admit that I mean, if you feel like their connection was inorganic, I can give that to you, but I don't think that necessarily makes her a Mary Stu. But to say that she's never lost anything over the course of the movies, I think is a bit of a stretch.
I don't think Han Solo counts as a major loss for her, I guess. I don't know, it just doesn't feel that way to me. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess
SLEEPSTINY.
Whatever. It's good to hear your opinion.
That's
okay.
Have
fun, buddy.
Okay. I love you, buddy. Be careful.
Fuck that vegan guy. Fuck that vegan guy. Okay. That guy was so fucking annoying.
Stay safe. Be careful.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't do that. Have conversations with people based on what they're fucking saying.
Yeah.